나와 신나고 뻔게 또 신나 샤바와키 신나무 키크라니 짱 샤바키라니 짱이 키크라니
Like a flower or a tree, I'll throw my head back and sing, I sing, I sing, I sing, I sing.
what's going on? What is
tushina shabawaki shinamu kikirani tsai shabakirani tsai makikirani
Hey, Governor Whitmer, how's it going?
Hi, Professor Potato. I wanted to share some Yukon Gold news with you, my best spud.
What is it?
We both agree that every Michigander deserves an opportunity to go to college without frying their bank account.
Absolutely. A higher education helps you learn more skills, pursue your passions, and even plant your roots right here in Michigan.
But for too many, college is financially out of reach. That's why I'm so excited to announce an appealing plan.
Oh, I know what you're planning. This year, we will work together to make the first 2 years of community college tuition-free for every high school graduate.
That's right, Professor. Michiganders will save an average of $4,000 as they earn their associate's degree, setting them up to earn a bachelor's or start working and earn a bigger paycheck.
Hey, that isn't small potatoes. That's a big deal.
To learn more, make sure you tune in for my State of the State address on January 24th at 7 p.m.
I'll be there for sure. Later, Tater.
Later, Tater.
Wow, I never knew Seamus Coughlin just interviewed the governor of Michigan. Shouts out to him and all the incredible stuff that he's doing. Well,
it was a good conversation. I don't agree with Whitmer on everything, but if I'm going to
do the
give it a
introduction
platform,
here, listen,
I'll take it.
Insult first, introduction second, and then you can have your comeback. Welcome
Being here is
back,
an insult.
beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Rudowski here of the bestpoliticalshow.com. As of course, we have a lot of absolutely crazy news to get into, as we're going to have a packed house with some really incredible, awesome individuals. As of course, the news doesn't stop. We have a New Hampshire primary. We got some crazy news coming from Carrie Lake as well from Texas, where it looks like that state is disavowing and defying the U.S. Supreme Court and the federal government. What does this mean? Will you have to take a shot if we say that one specific word that beanie guy says? Well, probably. We're going to be discussing that plus a lot more, all for the next 2 hours. So make sure you share this broadcast with your friends and family members, as of course you too get to participate in this conversation. And one way that you guys get to do that is by signing up to LukeUnfiltered.com. And by doing so, you get the special ability to actually call into the show and show us and ask us whatever you want. You also get a lot of different offers of value. Again, signing up to LukeUnfiltered.com. It's quick, it's easy, it's simple. The link is down in the description below. And if you haven't done it yet, what are you waiting for? As of course, another way to participate is through mysuperchats.com, a website that, of course, only does a 3% service charge. YouTube, Rumble, Super Chats, 30%. MySuperchats.com, just 3%, and your text actually shows up on screen. You get to say whatever you want, as of course we will be reading any and all Super Chats during the proceedings, during the show. As of course we have some very interesting characters here, to say the least. One of them is late. One of them is here and won't leave. I don't know what's this guy's problem.
I'm not going.
I saw him outside sleeping. I saw him outside sleeping in his car, and I'm like, I gotta help this poor guy out, and now he just won't leave. Weird guy sleeping in the car. What's your name?
I got past the barbed wire. I claimed asylum. This is where I stay now. You gonna do something about that? You gonna try to do something about that?
Listen, this is Florida here, not commie Florida. You know, this is.
Well,
let
me
totally
tell you about what's
different,
happening in Texas. They're a free state too, my friend. But when the federal government comes in and says you have to let trespassers stay and you can't do anything to keep them out, then you're kind of SOL, aren't you, buddy?
Yeah, I mean that's the federal laws.
This is my studio now. This is my studio now. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my name is Seamus Coughlin, host of the worstpoliticalshow.com. If you guys want to check that out, I make
Great
animated
website.
Cartoons at a little animated channel called Freedom Tunes. See that? Got it right on my tie. It was a Christmas present I got this year. Very amped about it. Very nice. Do you have something to say?
I was going to say, I got to save this comment for Rumble. I'll save this comment for Rumble.
Many comments will be saved for
I
Rumble.
have something to say.
Always a cheap shot, always something inappropriate. Yeah. It's very sickening. I'm glad to be here. It's great to see Clint. And... I was just waiting for an insult. How you doing, Luke?
I'm doing good. We're still waiting for James O'Keefe. He's a little late, even though he's like staying here with us. So yeah, that happened. He's going to come in any moment and, of course, introduce himself.
It's been a big slumber party.
Yeah. It has been. We got a lot of other crazy people coming into town as well. We're going to have Ben Stewart coming on the show this week as well. Rechtenwald, Drew Outstanding, and, of course, this very handsome young man who is here in studio with us. Look at that. Look at that young man.
Appreciate that.
Look at that. Yes, this is the resemblance is absolutely uncanny. He's such a looker. Steph and Clint are here. Clint, how you guys doing?
I'm good. This has been the longest intro ever. Clint Russell, host of Liberty Lockdown. You can follow me on X at Liberty Lockpod. If you want to support my work, you can subscribe over there. I'll follow you back. What else? I'm a host of Tower Gang, and I'm also a candidate for the vice presidency of the United States underneath the Libertarian banner.
Now, that sounded crazy until you said underneath the Libertarian banner,
Yeah.
and now I can believe it.
Now
I'm
you're like-
all right.
you're
I
like,
can see
no,
why
that-
they allowed him to do that.
That math checks out.
I could see it. I could see it.
Yeah, here we go.
And we're going to have Rechtenwald on the show tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, and
Yeah.
he's going to be, I think he's the front runner for the Libertarian ticket as well.
I think it's a 2 or 3 man race, but he's definitely up at the top, so that'll be an interesting one. And we got Steph in the building.
Hi, everyone. Steph Weird Change, ready to go.
All right, let's get into this first story, and that is what is happening right now in New Hampshire as the primaries are underway, as a lot of people expect Donald Trump to become the victor here and essentially solidify his road for the 2024 presidency, as a lot of people are saying that this is a larger race between the establishment and the anti-establishment. We had the Daily Mail specifically say that this was going to be a very determining factor for the Republican presidential party, seeing if it's going to go of the ways of the Dick Cheney, of the George W. Bushes, of the John McCains, or if it's going to go towards more of the Donald Trump, Vivek Ramaswamy, Tucker Carlson route. And I think it's pretty clear. A lot of people aren't really happy with the old guard that, of course, messed everything up back all the way in 2000 and had all the positions of power and then screwed everyone over, indebted this country, started many wars, and led us to Barack Obama, that of course wouldn't be in a position of power if the Republicans actually were at least a little bit competent.
That's right.
What do you guys think of this New Hampshire primary? What are your kind of predictions here, and what is your kind of larger kind of representation of everything that you're seeing unfold here?
Well, just to speak to some of the broader issues that you touched on there, I would say, firstly, it goes back further back than 2000. Obviously, you go back to the Reagan era and even prior. There,
Yeah,
so
Reagan,
many
horrible.
issues
He
with
banned
him.
machine
It's true.
guns, that son of
Banned
a gun.
machine guns, no fault divorce, right? He was certainly not this, perfect conservative hero as he's often worshipped to be by the old Republican Party.
He was
I'll
a
also say
statist
that
tyrant.
It seems to be the case that, while, of course, the establishment wants to preserve its own power, when you look at the actual voting patterns and popular choices of Republican Party members, the New Guard, the MAGA movement, the populist movement seems to be much more successful. Donald Trump is crushing in all of the polls. He crushed in the Iowa caucus. And when you look at people like Vivek Ramaswamy, for example, yes, he did get a very small percentage of the vote. I was sad to see him drop out. However, that's likely due to the fact that most of the people who like Ramaswamy like Trump more. And if this was a race where Trump was not president, it was Ramaswamy versus everybody else without that Trump alternative, I think he absolutely would have crushed.
Yeah, and when you look at the kind of larger war of wards that is happening right now, you see the governor of New Hampshire, Chris Sununu, coming out and saying Trump is of advanced age. And of course, Donald Trump responded on Truth by saying, quote, "Why does Fox keep putting New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu on? Every time I mention his name at a rally, they boo like crazy. He's all jacked up on something, but he ran for president without having the courage to announce and did really poorly. To have this loser on so much is really bad TV." And another pretty epic burn by Donald Trump, who doesn't have a lot of favorable coverage by Fox News, which is interesting since Fox News is supposed to represent the kind of right-wing political ideology, and it's fair to say that Fox News is betting a lot of money on not having Donald Trump as the president of the United States. There's even some rumors that I heard kind of swirling around that the laying off of Tucker Carlson wasn't just because of Big Pharma, but predominantly because Fox News really didn't want to see Donald Trump become the president again. And if you have the number one show on your network literally going up against everyone else, especially Ron DeSantis, especially Nikki Haley, and laying down a smackdown on them, just like Tucker Carlson was, there's no way that they could ever beat Donald Trump when you have such real news coverage and political partisanship by Tucker Carlson. So there's those rumors going around, which kind of looking back at it does kind of make sense that they would do this. What do you guys think?
Well, and guess what? Even with them shelving Tucker Carlson, they still couldn't get Nikki Haley over the finish line.
That's right.
Ha ha. So you gave up on tens of millions of dollars in ad revenue, and you still got trumped. I love it. But to get back into the New Hampshire primary, the big concern is that my understanding is you do not have to be registered into a party in order to cast your vote in New Hampshire. So the expectation is that there's going to be a tremendous amount of Democrats that are hitting the polls tonight to cast their vote for Nikki Haley, because Democrats, once again, are trying to prove to me that they are the spawn of Satan, and that even in the GOP side, they want there to be a warmonger, so I have no options between the duopoly whatsoever. It's horrible.
Yeah, on the show, I specifically said this is not a race between Nikki Haley and Donald Trump. This is a race for who is going to be starting World War III. This is a race of grand proportions of a lot of the big money interests pulling everything they can, all the advertisements, all the special interest group, all the military industrial complex, all the people who are even a part of the Democratic establishment saying, please, Nikki, take out Donald Trump. And Donald Trump still is coming out on top on all these polls. And how frustrating must it be to be one of these individuals? As of course, if this doesn't work, how else are they going to be trying to stop Donald Trump from here is the question that I'm kind of asking myself.
Oh, you know what they're going to try to do to stop Donald Trump, man. They're going to keep trying to bring him up on these, pun intended, trumped up charges. They're going to try to lock the man up. They're going to try to remove him from the race in any way possible. This is what I said when we were at your other studio a few months ago doing Timcast. There's several layers to the way they maintain their hegemonic control, and the outermost layer is the media, and that's basically their first resort. Their barbed wire, so to speak, the thing that they really don't want people to get past initially. And what the media is there to do is call people names when they stand up to the establishment, and then ideally that person's character is sufficiently assassinated and they're not really able to achieve anything within the political realm. Well, that stopped working. People don't really listen to the media anymore. So then what's the next step? Well, now you have to have lawfare, because people aren't being silenced by the media throwing mean labels at them, so the government actually needs to step in and shut these people up in a much more blunt way. And then if that does not work, I will let you leave to your imagination what the next step is at that point. And, people will say things like, when somebody is killed, for example, or they're assassinated, you create a martyr, right? The reality is the media does understand this. The government does understand this. However, that's why it's a last resort. That's why it's a last resort for that kind of thing to happen. People will look at this as if it's some crazy, kooky conspiracy theory to say that the deep state or anyone involved in the channels of power would have a president assassinated. Here's a fun story for everyone. This is something I learned several months ago in my research. It's something that not many people know, certainly something I didn't know. There's actually 2 official government reports on the JFK assassination. People think that the official story on the JFK assassination from the federal government is the Warren Report. And it's true that that's one official narrative that was released pretty immediately after the assassination. What people don't know is that there was actually a second official government document produced in 1976 during the 1976 House Select Committee on Assassinations. And what the House Select Committee on Assassinations found was that the JFK assassination was, in their words, most likely a conspiracy, or probably a conspiracy. Now, they didn't say it was the mob or it was the CIA or it was the Russians, but they said there probably was some kind of conspiracy there, which means our government has acknowledged that a president has been assassinated, likely as part of a conspiracy. So the idea that that couldn't possibly happen again is totally naive. And so much of this normalcy bias that people have involves looking at the past, seeing what the federal government has either admitted to doing or what certain committees have found in their investigations, and then saying, yeah, we know they did that in the past, or they were capable of that in the past, or that was a plausible possibility in the past, but that would never happen again. That could simply never happen again. Our government's full of good people who would never do anything horrible. Well, why? How many children have been starved to death in Yemen, for example? Right? By people who've never even been hungry a single time in their lives. You're going to tell me that the people who are foaming at the mouth for an opportunity to slaughter more unborn children and who scream to the heavens every single time abortion is restricted have some sacred obligation in their own hearts and minds to protect human life?
Yeah. It's insane. I completely agree with your assessment. It is bizarre how people are, they're like, they'll acknowledge, you got COINTELPRO and you got Gladio and you got all these other examples, like provable examples of absolutely horrific things that our government has done within not maybe my lifetime, but certainly within my parents' lifetime. And people just go, yeah, but they shut that switch. They hit that light switch got shut off a while ago. It's like, no, it didn't. No,
The party switched, Clint.
Yeah,
all of the bad people and criminals left the government.
It's like no. If anything, it got amped up, and all you have to do is look at the past 3 years, the psychological warfare that we've been experiencing. I don't know how you could think at all that this hasn't actually worsened. Just look at what happened with J6 and that the whole. I can't even talk about it. We'll save it for Rumble.
The CIA did all these horrible illegal actions, violating people's human rights, torturing people, killing people that they were never held accountable for, while also drug trafficking and human trafficking small children. But they definitely aren't doing it now, right, guys?
And this is another point that I want to make, because what I was doing earlier was pointing to the possibility that there could be nefarious, behaviors behind the scenes that would lead to the death of famous political leaders. And people could say that and go, oh my gosh, you're saying that the government's literally going to directly assassinate somebody. But let me just put it this way. Every single time Donald Trump said anything negative about the media, what did the corporate press respond with? You are making our lives unsafe. This is stochastic terrorism. Every single time you criticize us, you are increasing the probability that some unhinged lunatic is going to come kill one of us. Okay, so when the media is constantly saying that Donald Trump is a would-be fascist dictator and we need to put him in prison and stop him by any means necessary, do you think that could possibly inspire some lunatic to try to take his life? It absolutely could. It absolutely could. And we shouldn't pretend that that's not possible, and we shouldn't pretend that that's something that nobody in the channels of power wants.
Well, see, this is the danger, is that once their psychological warfare stops working, once their coercive power stops working, then it becomes force. Like
that's right,
and I fear that's where we're headed. And actually, I'm sure we're going to get into it shortly. But the example with Texas right now, where you have the feds that are challenging the National Guard of Texas, states' rights, they're trying to defend their own border. It's like you have so many flashpoints for a potential Beanie Man catchphrase. That I'm really concerned. This next 12 months is going to be the most perilous time. If not in American history, certainly in my lifetime.
Well, and I'm glad you say that. I'm glad you also point out that it's something you're fearful of, because every time this is discussed, the way our opponents respond to it is by suggesting that we're somehow gleeful at the possibility of this happening.
Couldn't be further from the truth.
It could not be further from the truth. It would be unfathomably ugly if that ever happened.
Yep.
Yeah, and what they're capable of doing, we can't even possibly imagine, because of just how far they've gone previously beforehand, as we even have the latest revelations specifically of what happened with, of course, James. You got to move one chair to the right, and I'm sorry you have to sit next to this potato guy.
Hold on a second.
That's
James O'Keefe?
Yes.
You're sorry James O'Keefe has to sit next to an ethnically Irish person?
Well, no. I didn't say Irish person. I said potato merchant.
You're slurring
to be
both
I
of
was
us.
once
clear
called
here.
a spud by one of my subjects.
Clint, if you can, move the camera a little bit so we can align everyone here. But of course, James O'Keefe is here.
Good to see you,
Welcome
man.
to Miami traffic. I hope it was just as wonderful as you imagined it to be.
I came from Delray, and it was like an hour and a half, and I was standing in your driveway on the phone recording a conversation with a subject trying to get more information. And of course, he calls me right as I'm walking into your studio. That's
You
what
were always
happens.
working, man.
No, he is.
Especially these days.
We've been hanging out for the last few days, and it's just like work.
Seen him for 5 seconds. It's like one of these stories just takes the amount of work that goes into one freaking video. And now I'm doing it every Wednesday. So I've just told my staff of 12 people, we are going to do a story every Wednesday.
Good for you.
So that's like a deadline. So I'm on the phone in your driveway trying to. I'm undercover on the phone. The dude thinks that he's like we're on some type of like date thing, and I'm trying to get information out of him, and he's like, "But you sound like a reporter." I'm like, "No, I just want you to trust me." And then he goes back to trusting me. So it's weird. These people never get it.
So what if he's watching this right now? He's like, I'm going to tune into my favorite podcast in the world right now.
Well, you're
He's like, when I want to see what the opposition thinks, I tune into Luke's
like
podcast.
Where we tune into the bestpoliticalshow.com.
It's like your cartoon at the end when the subject calls back the guy who stung him. It's like, honey, you're never going to believe what happened to me today. And then the guy goes, what does he say at the end? Oh, come on, man.
Yeah, well, so part of the reason that cartoon was inspired is I was watching the Pfizer leaks, and I thought it was so hilarious that there was this point in the video, and I've seen this in some of your videos before, where you have these great journalists, and they're very good at acting, but it's almost those moments where they kind of slip up, and their acting is a little cheesy, where they end up the person ends up revealing the most. Like, it was ridiculous. I remember there's one moment where the person was like, well, isn't it bad that you're doing what you're doing? They're like, yes, it's awful and I love doing it, and here's the list of all of the names of everyone who's involved with it with me. I was like, my goodness. And then that was the guy who ended up freaking out at the pizza
Jordan
place.
Walker.
Yeah.
Jordan Walker.
It's almost as if these people have a guilty conscience. It's almost as if they did something really bad.
But even this guy his lips were a little sealed. I'm trying to get him to divulge a specific piece of information, and his lips are sealed, and he won't. He's like, I just can't tell you that. I'm like, come on. So this is the subject you'll see tomorrow. This is so, this is like Epstein list stuff. This is so sensitive that even off the record or even in an undercover context, they don't even want to say what it is. So
Can I ask how much you're able to say about this story right now?
No, don't say anything.
Okay. No,
From my point of view,
series.
tell us about the last story you did. We're going to get into that in just a little bit. Right now, we're discussing the New Hampshire primaries, and the establishment not really being happy with Donald Trump. Axios has a very different article as they released a story today talking about how there's many Democrats, specifically Joe Biden, how they want Donald Trump to win, just like Hillary Clinton did in 2016, calling him essentially a Pied Piper candidate that she actually helped put in a position of power that essentially led to his presidency. The Daily Mail has this article saying Biden team wants Trump to win big in New Hampshire so the general election can begin on Wednesday, as internal data shows that will energize Democratic donors and voters. Now, there are some people on the DeSantis camp and in the Republican Party saying, hey, anybody but Donald Trump, because he's going to galvanize so many people to hate him. What do you guys make of that particular argument? And do you really think Joe Biden is excited about going up against Donald Trump? Because the poll numbers don't really show any kind of favorability here for Biden at all, no matter who's running against him.
Well, here's what I'll say about it. It's clear that the voters of the Republican Party have chosen Donald Trump. They are choosing Donald Trump. And look, things can change between now and when the party officially chooses their nominee. But for the establishment to say, even though our voters clearly want this, we just don't think he's a pragmatic enough candidate and a lot of people are going to vote against him, totally defeats the purpose of having a political party in a democratic system.
Honestly, clearly he's going to get the nomination. I think there's a chance that Nikki Haley drops out by tomorrow. Like, it could be that soon or that imminent. My concern, or what I want to see, is that Donald Trump surrounds himself with the new guard, the people that are actually pushing the envelope on things that the dissident right cares about. He credited Vivek Ramaswamy last night with educating him as to the perils of central bank digital currency. I never thought in my lifetime I would hear Donald Trump say CBDC. Like, I didn't think that was even a possibility. So if he can demonstrate that he is actually learning from his first go-around, I think that he will galvanize the dissident right in a way that gets him over the finish line. And for the Biden team to be saying that they would prefer to run against Trump, I'm sorry, I don't buy it. And in reality, I don't even think Biden's going to be the candidate. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, Donald Trump also made very similar statements saying that Biden probably will be dropping out, and he probably will. The guy could barely hold his ish together. The guy could barely frickin' stand. And it's going to be interesting because I think the real people that Trump should be going after are all the people who don't vote, or all the people who are undecided, or all the people who are just watching and don't really like to get involved in politics, but now, because of Bidenomics, because of the Build Back Better World Economic Forum kind of globalist agenda, they want to get involved because they're seeing the absolute wrecking ball that's been introduced into their lives through these horrible, awful policies. James, I don't know what you're seeing or what your pulse is on the ground, because you talk to a lot of people in our circle, but you also talk to a lot of normies through your investigative journalism.
Mostly normies.
What do you make of the NPC normie kind of mindset? Where's their vibration at? Where are they at politically, and how are you seeing everything unfold from them?
It's a good question. I was just talking about this today. Did you see the clip recently at the border? Everyone's talking about the border now, with these two guys saying that you'll know who I am soon. Did you see this viral clip? Where these two guys said, you'll know who we are. And
we know who he is now.
I mean, and someone, this is a political astute guy. I bet the FBI already knows. And then I was like, well, maybe I should send this to the FBI. Oh, yeah, that's right. Never mind. Like, I can't send that to the FBI. And then that whole thing where, we can't send this to the FBI. Like, I can't contact law enforcement because we don't trust law enforcement. That the center cannot hold the institutions of this country, the organizations, the people that work for these organizations, whether it be Delta Airlines, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the United States government, or Target or IBM. They're falling apart because the people inside are not loyal. The mission is no longer the mission. So what I'm seeing, Luke, is I don't know what that's going to lead to. I think Trump will get elected, but beyond elections, there's something happening in the cultural zeitgeist of this country where people on the inside of these institutions are so upset, so angry about what's happening that they're willing to do things they never did before.
Yeah, we actually have the video that you mentioned. We'll play a few seconds of it right now because it's a pretty short one.
If you are smart enough, you will know who I am. But you are really not smart enough to know who I am. But soon you're going to know who I am. Very easy.
Wow, very easy. The entitlement.
No, believe me, I'm much better than that.
The entitlement, guys. Wow.
Clint, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a viral TikTok that's going around right now, as well as other tweets that are alleging that this is a terrorist from Azerbaijan who spent 12 years in prison, and they believe that they've identified who he is. So if that's the case, we have a guy who's not only like a known terrorist who spent a dozen years in prison, but is now coming across and bragging about how we're going to know who he is soon. This is the Biden administration policy in action. It's insanity.
Well, we don't know exactly who this guy is as of yet, right? It hasn't been verified. We don't have a direct kind of link here. So we got to be careful with how we kind of express those opinions, because it could be just a random guy as well. But it's fair to say that when you have an open border, when you're literally fighting and having emergency meetings at the Supreme Court to demand more people just get to walk into this country, that the people walking into this country who are not being vetted, who are not being checked, who don't even have identifications most of the freaking time, that those individuals could be anyone and everyone. And if you were someone who had, something that you wanted to have a vendetta against the United States about, say you're someone maybe in, Yemen, or maybe another part of the world that's pissed off with American foreign policy, or the foreign policy in Somalia. Let's just say that this is leaving America in a very vulnerable situation, as even admitted by the FBI, that came out and said, hey, there's a lot of potential for a lot of trouble here, even though we're focusing on Donald Trump supporters and parent-teacher school conferences and individuals who are concerned about a noose at NASCAR. That's literally where the FBI is sending their resources. And let's wait. Let's also storm down and break down the door of James O'Keefe when he's working on stories that he was given to that the FBI now verified and is true, surrounding Joe Biden and his daughter and some very inappropriate activities in the shower. James, you were the target.
Hold on,
Yeah.
can I just? I'm sorry. The FBI actually verified that was true, because for a long time, all the establishment was saying is we fact checked this and it's false.
Well, it turns out I'm a better journalist than I thought I was, because I did not run that diary, because I wasn't 100% certain that it was real.
And you didn't have it verified. You didn't have a second source that could prove it.
I didn't. It's like, okay, she was on drugs and in rehab. Okay, she wrote some things in a book, but I don't know if it's true what she wrote. But I guess I'm a better journalist than I thought I was, because when the FBI took a battering ram to my door, they kind of verified that it was a real thing and that it was actually Ashley Biden's. Because can you imagine the FBI banging down? Since when does the FBI investigate abandoned diaries?
Yeah,
That's not even a petty misdemeanor in a county court.
it's a good point.
What was the allegation? That you had stolen it?
That I transported it across state lines. That I transported stolen property across state lines.
Stolen. Okay.
But it's not illegal for a journalist to transport a stolen document that someone, even if I don't know that it was stolen, but let's presume it was by somebody else.
Sure.
I didn't steal it.
Right.
And it's also like journalists transport stolen documents across state lines every day. That's what journalists do. That's what the Pentagon Papers is. That's what the whole thing is. It's just so ridiculous.
Do you think that since Julian Assange's treatment, that it has sent a chill across the journalism field, and that's why you're the only one doing.
Well,
journalism?
look what happened to Gonzalo Lira as well. And if you can't, James, you can put your microphone down a little bit as well because it's blocking your face. But it is a chilling effect because you see what happened to Assange, you see what happened to you see what happened to Gonzalo Lira, you see what's happening to all these other individuals. A lot of people are like, I don't want to deal with any of this.
And Assange, the indictment said that he was hacking. I don't remember exactly what he was like, encouraging Manning to look into the thing.
Yes.
And it's like that line in the indictment where he's encouraging the source to get more information. But that's a slippery slope because all the newspapers do that with their national security sources. And I do think it's chilled people out. But now you have this building tension in American society where people on the inside of the institutions have no recourse. That's what I'm feeling, Luke. The people inside the Border Patrol, 99%, this is what the Border Patrol agent insider told me, hate their jobs, hate their lives, and hate their mission. I said, so why are you doing it? The paycheck and the pension, baby. Yep. We need that money. Money makes people do things they don't want to do.
Well, I mean, the same thing that you're describing is something that I experienced when I got drunk with the White House press corps, and the conversation was again, I got to do what I got to do. I got to pay the mortgage. Wow. I got to make sure that I take care of my family, and I got to do what I got to do. They tell me what to do. They tell me what to read, and I do it every day. And these are the top journalists inside of the United States at the frickin' White House, and we just had we stood up till like 5 o'clock in the morning getting hammered. And
did you record it?
No, I did not. We went off the record, and there's something.
He thought he did. You know, at the time, he was like, I was going to hit his record on my phone.
No. Hey, I was drunk too. I'll be honest. But there's other things that they told me as well that was off the record that I respected.
Understood.
I get. You know, I'm not even a journalist. I just have my show Liberty Lockdown, and I will have people that will just listeners of mine that are airline pilots or work for the police or work in the government, and they're constantly trying to feed me information. And I feel like maybe it's because of my show name. It makes it sound like I would be just releasing all of this information. But basically what I'm saying is I think that because the institutions are so corrupt, you have a lot of people that want to stay quiet publicly, but they want to get the information out. That's and right. I would imagine that's benefited your cause a lot. Do you think has it increased?
Beyond anything I'm not exaggerating. Since December, it was just like linear. And then we did this story on IBM, the CEO of IBM, and it was just like, it's skyrocketed. I mean, and it's actually difficult because I can tell you as someone, I'm not a person who does commentary. This is a rare exception, Luke and Tim Pool, and that's about it. I don't really like to opine on and I respect people who do because I'm not good at it. But it takes a lot of time to talk to these people. I mean, it takes hours to talk to one of them.
Right. Mm-hmm. Oh, especially if you got to verify it.
Imagine if you had thousands of that contact.
That's true.
And then they DM me, they're like, I haven't heard back from you. So there's a sort of expectation from people on the inside that I owe them. I don't know what to call it, like journalistic welfare help or even therapy. And I have to, and the other part is, you have to build a team of people that you trust, who actually do care. You know, it's very difficult work.
Absolutely, and you definitely put in the hours. We've been hanging out with the last few days.
I don't think we have been hanging.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like you leave in the morning, you come back at night. We talk to each other at night, and you do truly put in the hours. It's very, very impressive, and it's a lot of work. And we thank you for doing it because it's I would say one of the most difficult things to do, especially with all the legal pressures, especially with the FBI barging down your door. And them just showing that they're willing to become more and more criminal in their kind of prosecution of journalism, which is absolutely insane. We have some super chats that I wanted to mention before going on to the next story. We have one from Hammy762 saying Seamus's real name is Toby. I never knew your name was Toby, but I guess we'll call him Toby from now on.
I know who that's from.
767
Don't care to respond.
Spirit says...
By the way, that was a dox. You just doxed me.
Hey,
I literally just got doxed on this show.
Toby, it's not my problem. Listen, you're trying to hide information from the general public. We're here bringing light to who you really are, Seamus.
Yeah, this is journalism right now.
Yes, don't be mad.
So Hammy is one of O'Keefe's reporters who found out my real name.
767 Spirit says, in regards to border, coin term welfare soldiers. I don't know exactly what that means. But to continue the conversation with Donald Trump, again, if you've been watching our show, we've been critical of him when we need to be critical. We've been supportive of him when he actually does anything good. I think anyone you need to be, you need to treat them like a normal human being. You can't put anyone on a pedestal. What Donald Trump did with Julian Assange was absolutely very disappointing. But it does look like he is changing his tune, especially to the military-industrial complex, with this latest speech that he gave in New Hampshire that I thought was very impressive and something that a lot of people, I think, need to hear. Here's Donald Trump in his own words.
We wanted to stop terror from coming into our country, but I couldn't talk about it because I didn't want to do that, and then the following day something happens. So I went 4 years keeping my mouth shut on that particular subject. But now I talk about it all the time. We had no attacks. We didn't have a World Trade Center. We didn't have the attacks like you've seen, and certainly that you see in other countries. And by the way, now we're getting involved again in the Middle East. Look what's happening. You're getting involved. Here we go again with the Middle East. We spent $9 trillion, killed millions of people, including our side, their side, millions of people. $9 trillion. You know what we got? Nothing. Nothing. You got death. You got blood. You got nothing. And it just, we spent our blood and our treasure, as they say, our blood and our treasure. And our blood is more important than our treasure. And it's a shame. It's a shame. I beat ISIS. You're right. Thank you for telling me that. You're right. I was getting to that, but he's very good. He's sharp this one. Thank you. We did. We beat the hell out of ISIS. It was supposed to take 4 to 5 years. We got it done in 4 months, I'd say. 4 months.
Well, to be honest, you didn't have to beat ISIS. You just had to stop financing them, and that's what he did. Yeah. He actually did stop financing them, which was a very positive thing. But him bringing up the failed old Republican policies in the Middle East definitely does highlight a kind of shift in the narrative that a lot of people, even at Fox News, a lot of people of the old Republican Guard don't want getting out there, as of course they were never held responsible for all their kind of horrible actions that they committed there. So seeing Donald Trump actually address the larger failures of the Republican Party in the Middle East is something that to me is a good sign when it comes to who he's representing in this election cycle. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, part of what was so sad with Assange and Trump's reaction to that is just the idea that he would agree with anything that the deep state or national security state said was a threat to the American people or our democracy or anything along those lines, when all they did was lie about him his entire presidency, and also lie to him about the number of soldiers we had in particular countries that they didn't want to see him pull troops out of.
Keep in mind, he was actively being spied on by the FBI based off of a false affidavit, and he gets up there and he thanks WikiLeaks. He says, "Thank you, we love WikiLeaks."
WikiLeaks. Pretty good, yeah.
And then he doesn't freaking
then asked, he was like, "I don't know who Assange is. Who's Assange? I don't know. No clue.
It's unbelievable."
No
and let me
He
just
said, "Mr. Leaks supplied us."
He's
the wiki of WikiLeaks.
Look, here's my issue with Trump, and this is why people both love and hate me. I love what he's saying there, but here's the truth. He bragged about the armaments, the massive amounts of weaponry that he was selling to Saudi Arabia as they flattened the Yemenis. Mm-hmm. He also bragged about how Barack Obama refused to give live ammo to the Ukrainians, and then
he did it.
And he sold it to him. He said Obama would only give him pillows. Nah, not me. I give him the real deal. It's like, so he has to own some of this. And if he wants to acknowledge that and say, I realize now we have to have a non-interventionist position, and I mean it when I say America first, then you can get people like me on board. Until then, it just looks like pandering.
Yeah, and one of the biggest policies that you didn't mention that I want to bring up here is Barack Obama had a deposition matrix where he literally was like, yeah, we could kill American citizens. We just got to sign this paperwork and we're going to do that. He gave that power to the CIA. He gave that power to the Pentagon. That's power that, of course, should be rectified. It should be taken back. The CIA shouldn't have the ability to drone strike and kill American citizens and teenagers without any kind of recourse or due process or court of law. And that's something that I also want to see kind of Donald Trump address here. But again, still out of all that, he's still representing one of the few anti-war voices in this race. Everybody else is a total warhawk.
Assange.
That's an excellent question. That's a great question. From the scuttlebutt that we heard internally, that I heard from Cassandra Fairbanks. If you look at what happened under his administration, Assange was indicted under the Trump administration. Assange was put in solitary confinement, was taken out of the embassy during the Trump administration. The scuttlebutt, and I don't know if this is true, this is from insiders within the Trump administration that I personally talked to. There was allegedly a larger push for Assange to release his sources. And they said, release the sources, tell us who got us these documents, and we're going to make sure that you walk free. Or we're gonna put you in jail for the rest of your life. And then he was sent to solitary confinement.
He refused to release
to release his sources.
Well,
honorable until the very end, even after 12 years of torture.
Remarkable.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
But and I also heard reports that it was Pompeo that was openly discussing assassinating Assange.
Yes.
Not just leaving him in the embassy like they've done. So
And this is what we were talking about earlier, right? These are people who have starved children in foreign countries, who are doing everything within their power to ensure that unborn children can be slaughtered within our borders. So it shouldn't shock us when they say this person is inconvenient to our power, so let's eliminate them.
Well,
These are people who value human life or human dignity or the human person.
This is how they play off of America's ignorance. His support of the genocide in Yemen by arming the Saudis is now why the Houthis are so, they're trained, they're armed, and they're crazy. And now they're the ones that are bombing Israel, or at least attacking Israel and attacking ships in the Red Sea. And like, this is all a product of intervention. If we don't intervene, then okay, when we actually see one of these issues, we can go, well, that's a terrorist organization. But the truth is, we have our hands all throughout this entire planet and arming all of the craziest people, the Wahhabists and everything else. It's like, just stop. I'm begging you.
We have the article here. No, we have the article here by The Guardian that's 2 years old, specifically saying CIA officials under Trump discussed assassinating Julian Assange. Report: Mike Pompeo and officials requested options for killing Assange following WikiLeaks publication of CIA hacking tools. Report says, and then of course Mike Pompeo was also served papers and a lawsuit specifically addressing this issue.
And what did I say earlier on the show? First, they try to smear you in the media. If that doesn't work, they try lawfare. If lawfare doesn't work, what other option do they have?
Usually lawfare works.
Yeah, and usually lawfare works, but it didn't with this guy.
Which guy?
With Assange.
Oh, well, he hasn't backed
down.
Where is he in now?
But he hasn't backed down, and that's why the discussion of assassination came up. Is my point.
Well, essentially, they did assassinate him. Like he lost his mind because he was put in solitary confinement. He's not the same person he was before he was put in there, as he was put in isolation for so long.
And you're right, but even so, even though they were able to imprison him, they didn't break him because he didn't reveal his sources.
That's true.
Yeah.
You know what's
so they didn't get what they wanted. So what's left? What's left? Well, they're going to discuss assassinating him.
You know what's really powerful about this story, though? Americans value press rights so much that we spend more time talking about an Assange who's not even an American than we do Snowden. That's remarkable. That shows like a level of care and concern for principles over nationality Snowden that I think is really profound.
That's true. We do care. Snowden, American citizen, he may be. Glenn Greenwald was the journalist, and Snowden was the source of that story. That's right. And Julian Assange is not an American citizen. You're right. He's not an American citizen. But I am, and the FBI barged down my door, and I can tell you, I've talked to Luke about this. It was very terrifying, and for the first couple days, it was definitely, it was just utter fear. That's all I can say. Utter fear.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah. Has it shaken your? I mean, I would imagine it has to have, but to what extent has it shaken your belief in this?
You can't let it.
I wrote something. I'm not going to publish this. But I'm not. I was going to post it, Luke, today online, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to read it on the show because I think it's pretty dramatic, and I have a series coming up, some big stories, and I'm going to actually break the bigger ones later in the series. But what I said in this little note that I wrote to myself, I said, I've come to realize the injustice is so horrible. Challenging Leviathan itself is hard enough. Leviathan doesn't like being challenged. But it's nearly impossible as it is to challenge the government and Leviathan. The enemy and its injustice is no longer what bothers me. Because an enemy can't betray you. Mm-hmm. Only your friends can do that. I expect the FBI and the NSA and God knows whatever evil organization Luke wants to talk about on this program, I expect those people hurt me. But what stands between us and the enemy is really ourselves. I've seen people sacrifice everything they believe in for the love of money and power. I've seen envy destroy the lives of the people in this own movement of ours. I've seen people claim to care about these principles, but actually the only thing they care about is themselves. And I've seen 99% of Border Patrol agents say, I'm doing this for the money. So is the enemy really the government? Or is the enemy the people that are, quote, good?
Yep.
That's profound.
Really the issue here, an unhealthy obsession with safety and comfort from countless Americans. And these weaknesses stand between us and what we're up against.
Absolutely.
I
No,
think
you
that's
couldn't
absolutely
have
right.
said it any better, because we do have to take a mirror. We do have to reflect on why we're in such a position that we are right now. And it's mainly because of our kind of weaknesses. It's mainly because of how emotionally manipulated a lot of people are, and how fearful they are, and how selfish they are in many instances, because all the horrible stuff could go away if it wasn't for just our participation in this larger kind
That's
of evil
right.
as well.
Yeah.
And this is why we keep preaching every little action, every little thing, every decision you make, even when it comes to voting with your attention, voting with your dollars, voting with your clicks, deciding what you're going to be incentivizing, what you're going to be purchasing, what you're going to be investing in, not just with the outside world, but with yourself, is so freaking critical and key that I think not a lot of people realize how important it actually is. Clint, you had something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I make this point on my show all the time. It's like, I shut down a multi-million-dollar mortgage company to just go scream into a microphone, and now I'm running for vice president under LP. Like, I have totally, and by the way, I moved 3,000 miles away from California to Florida to do all of this.
Smart man.
Yes, well, that one wasn't so much of a sacrifice, but the rest was a major sacrifice.
sure,
Because for
for
those
sure.
that don't know, there is no effing money in what I'm doing. I am doing this 100% because I can't stay silent and let this play out, and then expect there to be a nation that my children can grow up in, that I can sleep at night about. It's like,
but people are
good for you.
driven. People, listen. I have a lot of experience and frustration. People are driven by. I mean, human beings care about their own money and paycheck, and I'm trying to fight that. I'm trying to figure a way to. I don't know what the ideas here are, but people just want to care about their mortgage and their family and their money.
You got to care.
Yeah.
You got to care
Well-
more about the next generation. I think.
I think that
And
it's not just that a question of like caring about the next generation, because sometimes that can make it a little bit too abstract. The reality is you are doing the best thing for your family by standing up and doing the right thing. Now, by the way, I understand that a lot of this can come down to a prudential judgment, and there are different levels to this. There's remote cooperation with evil and direct cooperation with evil, and you got to kind of weigh when it might make sense to take a stand on certain issues. But the reality is, a man has as many masters as he does vices. And we live in a very vicious culture. And people are controlled based on the things that make them feel good, based on the carrots that are dangled in front of them by the government, or even by spiritual forces beyond their comprehension. So we were talking about Donald Trump earlier. Well, what's his vice? I love Donald Trump. I think there's many fantastic things about him. I think he's the best president that I've
Diet
had in
Coke
my
and
lifetime.
McDonald's?
But Donald Trump's vice is pride. And it's obvious.
I was gonna say the
And-
mirror.
And when you look at how that's manifested, it becomes plainly clear how that has infested and sabotaged his ability to make good decisions in certain areas. With the U.S. Saudi-led coalition and how he was sponsoring it to continue to carry out this genocide in Yemen, with his appointment of Fauci and him continually shilling for the vaccine and insisting that it was so great and such a miracle that he created it. Why? Well, because those are things that his administration was a large part of. Again, with the U.S. Saudi-led coalition, he didn't start that, right? But he continued it and he stood by it. With the vaccine, that did all happen under his administration. Donald Trump is not going to walk back his own decisions because, for as much as I love him, he's a prideful man. And while that is the case for Trump, you look at other political leaders, sometimes it's pride. I think most of the time it's lust with people who have in power, or a combination of the two. And you see how that drags otherwise good people down into the muck and makes it impossible for them to make clear and level-headed decisions about what they should be doing for the people who are in their care.
Trump's ego is his gift and his curse. And the fact that he wants to be loved by the kind of uber liberal corporate media establishment is something that I don't want to see. But it keeps coming up again and again, not just in his policies, but in the way that he approaches the alternative media and the corporate media. He should be doing a lot of alternative media. He should be on the Timcast, the Joe Rogans, the other independent media spheres. He's not. He's given exclusives to the New York Times and CNN. Those people are absolutely horrible. Those people deserve no attention
That
at all.
could also be a generational thing too.
Yeah, for sure.
I think for people of his age, they don't recognize that you actually do get a lot of views on shows. Well, not shows like this, right? But like Timcast, etc. Whereas it's CNN
we
and
laugh
NYT.
you, bro. What are you talking about?
every time you're on Rumble, we specifically go on Rumble and then we pick on you and we laugh at you because of how many more viewers we have.
It's true, man. You look, they got me. Listen, you guys have blown me out of the water on Rumble, but not on YouTube.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, no,
but no, we got to bring up more stories because there's so many different stories that we didn't get into. We didn't get into the Texas story yet, and there's another story coming out of Arizona, specifically highlighting audio recordings the moment a senior Republican figure was trying to bribe Carrie Lake not to run for the U.S. Senate. This is bombshell
when
audio.
did this come out?
This just came
Earlier
out just
today.
a few moments ago. This is a 10-minute video. We're going to play a small
way.
portion clip of this, but we were with Carrie Lake just a few days ago at AmFest. You were there, Seamus, as well. She, of course, made sure to come behind stage and say hi to all of us, and Tim and you and me. And this latest audio recording.
Who's bribing her?
I'm going to play the audio
do it.
right now, and then we'll go over the story. But the story's being shared around everywhere on social media right now. Here's the clip.
I sent you a 3-minute one on X if you want to use that instead.
Where did you send it?
In our Telegram.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to go to that now then.
As opposed to 10 minutes.
Read the story then. Introduce the story.
Yeah, I mean, so Carrie Lake had actually talked about this a few months ago. She claimed that she had the audio. I did not believe her because I figured if she had the audio, she probably would have released it. Well, now we got the audio. Clearly, she is being offered a huge payday.
What's going on?
This is a 5-minute clip, Clint.
Okay, well, it's half.
You dyslexic person. Here's the clip.
Assuming this is our friend.
This is back east. There are very powerful people that want to keep you out.
I know they do.
But they're willing to put their money where their mouth is in a big way. So, this conversation never happened.
This is crazy, though. They should want me. I'm a great candidate. People love me. These people are corrupt.
Well, maybe you're right.
They are right. They are corrupt.
Maybe. This never happened. Don't go. Do you ever though? I'll get myself in trouble. This, if you say no, which is fine, it's your choice. Don't tell people.
They're gonna try to have me murdered.
I wouldn't doubt that either. Today's world, man. If that stuff that came out last week is right about the cartel stuff, man. They said the cartel's operating in 50 states right now, like all 50. You know. So
what's going on? Who is it? What?
Forget the who. Let me just tell you the what. Let's just say there are people calling around saying, gosh, no, they can't repeat this. Never repeat this. If you say no, don't. If you say, I got offered to buy out. Don't use it. Because then we lose our ability to get things done in the future.
Here's my problem. Rather than just say, let's work with her. She's a great candidate. Because they don't own me. And it pisses me off.
Yeah, I said I know it's about ownership.
It's about control.
I don't know it's about control. It's about being on the team. I guess that's, you know what I mean?
They want to be on the team.
They want you to be on their team.
But
Just team. You know?
But if they're pushing a globalist agenda, I can't do that. So what do they want? What do they want me to do?
They want you to stay out for 2 years. But, I'll tell you what I can offer you. But, I said you can do whatever she wants, talking head, this and that. So, the ask of me was, it's kind of funny. So the ask I got today from back east was, it has to stay between us. Is there any companies out there or something that could just put her on the payroll and give her, to keep her out? And I said, well, what are you willing to do? Like, whatever we need to do.
This is about defeating Trump.
Keep her on the payroll and give her whatever she wants. Holy freaking cow! If she doesn't run for political office, this is a major story. As of course we had the picture of this Republican figure that, of course, essentially tried to bribe her within the Republican ticket. Why are they so mad? Why are they so triggered when it comes to Carrie Lake, that a lot of people argue actually won the last time she ran for political office? This is a pretty big bombshell. What do you guys make of it?
Well, I think what she said is you have to be, or she said, do they want me to be, or do they want to be on my team? And he says, no, they want you to be on their team. And I was like, that's exactly how the political system works.
And this was Jeff DeWitt. He's the chair of the Arizona Republican Party that was speaking to her, by the way.
I mean, this is unbelievable insight into the actual inner workings of our political establishment. And this is why people call it the duopoly. This is why the corruption that exists under the Biden administration, we talk about a ton. Rarely do we talk about the Republican,
just how bad the Republicans are just as worse as the Democrats. Let's be honest here in many
times.
And I don't know if Carrie Lake recorded this. Does it say if she recorded? Or
I'm
who
pretty sure
recorded?
she did.
I mean, that's remarkable too, because this guy, I'm sure it wasn't easy for her to burn her bridges, so to speak, with whoever this person. Party official.
The chair of the Arizona Republican Party.
The chair. Okay, there you go. I didn't know that.
Yes, that's
the chair,
especially when she's running again.
I think that's the lead for me is that was perhaps she was conflicted and she went ahead and did it anyway.
Well, but what it does is it now totally cements her bona fides as being an actual outsider. So
yes,
I think that's why she should. I bet she'll get a serious look by Trump for the VP slot after this. Like if he wants to have someone that has shown I will not take a bag to walk away. Well, she's got actual evidence of that now.
He said, quote, there are powerful people who want to keep you out. That's crazy.
Yeah,
who do you think are some of these powerful people?
Say, Clint, I think that's a really interesting point. I really hope you're right. Oftentimes what happens is whenever you have someone who's viewed as an outsider candidate, they'll pick somebody who's very pro-establishment to sort of put people at ease. And we saw this with Trump last time, right? When he picked Mike Pence. We saw this again with Barack Obama, who was always controlled opposition, and he was never actually an outsider, but people thought he was, so who'd he pick? Joe Biden, right? A typical establishment person who always follows what his party wants. I really, really hope that Trump doesn't make the mistake of trying to cater to the public in that way anymore, because I don't think it's going to work at this point. I could be wrong about that. Who am I? I'm a cartoonist, not a strategist. But I would like to see him pick somebody like Carrie Lake, and if he went and picked somebody like Nikki Haley, which there were rumors that was being discussed. I don't even know what. I mean, I would be so horribly depressed.
Oh, it would sandbag his campaign in a way. I think that people are seriously underestimating how many people in the dissident right that usually wouldn't vote, or maybe they cast a vote for a libertarian candidate that would absolutely hop on board if Trump selects someone for VP that is clearly not a part of the swamp. If he does though, if he goes the Haley route, if he goes any of these other routes that they normally do to try and prove that we're on your team, well then you're DOA. Like I don't have any, like, why do I even care at that point? If we're gonna have World War III and we're gonna have an economic reset under your presidency, well I would rather it happen under Biden term 2 with his brain falling out of his ears.
Carrie Lake here is kind of like the insider, isn't she? She's kind of like one of those whistleblowers you were talking about.
Exactly.
Where she's now.
I was surprised she didn't leak it to you.
Well, that's true, but I think who did she publish it with?
I don't know if she's the one who published it. We know the audio has been released here, so we don't know much details about
it says
that.
Daily Mail on the clip on X.
Yeah, but it could be someone who either hacked her appliances or someone who was a third party involved here that wants to, of course, create chaos before this very important next election cycle. So there's also that aspect of it that maybe she didn't want this to come out, and I think that's viable here. But she has shown that she has integrity here because she didn't take a job. She didn't stay out of politics. She's still active. She still gives speeches. She's still out there. And shouts out to her and all the real ones who are not taking huge sums of money. Those people need to be protected. Those people need to be shouted out. I don't even agree with some of her policies, but I like her because she's honest. She speaks without any kind of bullcrap marketing, PR, political nonsense. When she was on Timcast, every time she's on a show with me, we had other like politicians be like, okay, I don't want to talk about this. We can't discuss this, and we're like, bug off, get out of here. She sat down, ask me whatever you want. So shouts out to her. Shouts out for her not taking money. We got a Rumble rant from Pepe Payne saying the real issue is folks hiding behind NDAs and classified secrets don't make friends, and my belief, God will judge for hiding the truth, and I doubt he will honor an NDA. Very well said, Pepe Payne. Very well said. We got to go over to Rumble because we are already late. The conversation on Rumble gets a lot spicier, a lot more unfiltered. Go to rumble.com/wearechange. Rumble.com/wearechange. That is our website. And it's more important than ever that you guys also vote with your clicks. Vote with your clicks. Why are we in a technocratic gulag state known as YouTube? Why are we here with Alphabet? Why? Because we have a lot of subscribers here. We nearly have 1 million people. We want to, of course, get everyone from YouTube over to Rumble. Rumble is where it's at. They just released a lot of really exciting news when it comes to their larger partnerships, when it comes to software and new technology that they're going to be releasing. It's absolutely freaking exciting. That's going to be a major game changer. So shouts out to them. We're investing in them because they are putting their mounts where their money is. They're saying no to governments. They're suing people. They're fighting in court. They're fighting for free speech. And the least thing you could do is literally just go to rumble.com/wearechange. Click subscribe. Set up an account. Set up the app. You could even get the TV app. You can get whatever you want. But the more important issue is you incentivizing good people doing good things. I can't recommend enough for you to do that. Rumble.com/wearechange. James, before we leave our huge audience here on YouTube, where can people find you and support your work?
My website, o'keefemediagroup.com. You can support us there. And social media, X, James O'Keefe III. That's III. Instagram, James O'Keefe III.
And then we have theworstpoliticalshow.com.
That's right. The worst. Let's just make sure it goes to the right place this time. The worst political show.
You don't trust me, Seamus?
I do trust you.
I gifted you this amazing URL, and you are so unappreciative.
Hold on
you don't
a
even
second.
trust me. How
Are you
dare
gonna
you?
let me? Are you gonna let me? Just all I'm saying. I don't mistrust your intentions. I just don't believe you're a competent person. That's all.
That's coming from a raging alcoholic, so you know it's it's a pretty
You know
profound
that
statement.
when somebody literally has the ethnicity that I have, they're just a raging alcoholic.
He's been boozing all day. It's pretty sad.
You can hear it as I'm speaking right now. I'm slurring my words. I'm out of my mind.
James O'Keefe is tired because he works really hard. Seamus is tired because his liver's failing.
It's
That's
true.
the truth.
You can see my eyes are yellow. I told Luke, I said white balance on my eyes so people can't see I'm in kidney failure.
It literally smells like cigarettes and whiskey in the guest room that he's staying in. His car is an absolute mess.
That's true.
Like
that last part is actually true. My car is a mess.
Is that your car out there?
Don't tell anybody.
That's mine.
Luke was cracking me up because I had like some wrappers. We were driving
It
somewhere
wasn't
for
rappers.
lunch.
It was a freaking landfill.
Hold on.
It was a landfill in your car, bro.
Let me finish this. So there was, I had like an empty bag of some fast food since I drove all the way down here so gracefully to do Luke's show and give him some publicity. And my car's insanely messy. My car's insanely messy, and I'm clearing out the seat for Luke to get in, and I hand him this crumpled bag of McDonald's, and I'm like, do you have a garbage can I can put this in? He's like, it literally will not make a difference if you just throw that in your back seat. He's like, I was like, that's fair.
Steph's in the house as well.
Yeah.
Steph, you talk too much.
FreedomTunes.com, by the way.
Clint Russell, host of Liberty Lockdown, co-host of Tower Gang, and co-host of thebestpoliticalshow.com. Thank you guys so much for supporting us at Liberty Lock Pod on X if you want to follow me. And I will be in Georgia this weekend moderating the LP presidential debate. So come out Saturday. It's going to be fun.
Great job, Clint. Looking forward to it.
And you can follow her, Steph We Are Change, on Instagram.
All right, go to rumble.com/wearechange right now. Again,